Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of Finding Your Sexuality, where we're gonna continue the conversation we had last week and dive into a lot more. Deep dive.
And we're also going to answer some questions that you guys put in last time.
So enjoy.
Well, speaking of our bi queens, should we move on to our late bloomer?
That's very
because
embarrassing.
I think you are a very good example for like, it still counts if you don't come out at like 12 years old.
It's making me very stressed, guys.
Stressed by
I love
us.
Yeah.
No, I know.
And everyone else. So obviously I know now you're more into women, I would say, if that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Give that camera a good old wink.
Yeah. But what age or like when do you think you accepted or knew that you were bisexual?
I think it took me a long time to figure that out.
Yeah.
To figure out what my feelings towards women were.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think for me it wasn't like, I don't want to say black or white because it's never
Yeah, it's
one or
never-
the other, but I feel like you two kind of had that feeling very quickly. Not quickly.
No, but I get what you mean.
I think also because we identify as lesbian, it's like, oh, I don't have this feeling with a man.
it's
Maybe
harder
whereas-
for you to navigate it because
Yeah.
it's like, is it feeling stronger?
Yeah.
Or...
It's different now being in the position where I am openly bi and knowing it compared to back then when I was like experiencing these things and thinking like, oh, that is a romantic feeling.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very similar to what you guys have as well. Like you see a woman, you're like, she's beautiful. But I was like, yeah, she's beautiful. But now looking back, I was feeling more behind those feelings than it just being like, oh, it's a beautiful woman.
I feel like as well, sorry to interrupt you, is that because you were in the model industry from such a young age, it's like you're surrounded by beautiful women all the
Yeah.
It
time.
must be hard
wouldn't
to separate it all.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be shocked at you recognizing all these beautiful women around you because you're working with models all the time.
And like, you're
you know?
also just a girl. Do you know what I mean? Like, girls
Just
can...
a girl.
Like,
Just a girl,
girls
guys.
can find girls pretty and not be a lesbian.
Yeah.
So it's hard to navigate the differences.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I'll speak from where I am now and knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
Looking back at those years, like I've had multiple occasions where I've had a friendship that would be like, find my friend very attractive. But I thought similar, like that's how everyone feels in a friendship. Or I would have an online crush on someone. Or, I mean, I think a big thing for me is the sex scenes in movies. Like I would be more intrigued by two women than straight couple having some chemistry on screen. But I think for myself, I started to figure out, honestly, I always see it back as when I moved to London, and this is going to make sense because I think your surroundings have so much to do with
Definitely.
finding yourself. Because I moved to London 5 years ago, and then London is so open for LGBTQ and everything around
It's
that.
one of the most diverse capitals in the world.
Yeah, and you see a lot of it on the streets. And when I moved to London, one of my good friends at the time was also bisexual, and I feel like that kind of opened the door for me too, where I was like, oh, she's having these conversations, and we started talking, and then I got into a model couple thing with her as well, because they were looking for same-sex model couples, but they couldn't find a lot of like models who are in a same-sex relationship. Let me say, I never had like romantic feelings towards her, but it did started to open my eyes of like how I could feel towards women romantically as well. And then I finally took the leap of like, okay, let me just figure this out for myself. And I went on a date with a girl. We started like seeing each other for a little while, and I think that really did confirm
I think
for me.
that's around when we met.
And that's when we met, yeah.
And
because I was already bi when I
Yeah.
met you.
Yeah, and then I obviously brought a very, very large queer world right to your doorstep,
Yeah,
full
and
of
that's
drama.
But that's what I wanted to get into, because obviously like London was already opening my eyes because London is such a vibrant city in that sense. But I think the people you're with, especially like you, but then also with you, we can all the three of us can say, oh, since we are so close,
Yeah.
I've grown a lot in that sense
Like
as well.
an insane amount.
Yeah. And I think it also really helped me with my confidence of like, okay, I do like women. I don't want to cry.
No, honestly, the way. No, honestly, I am so impressed with you because I feel like when. Oh, Yelks, I love you.
You're gonna make me
I
cry.
know, honestly, we're going to start crying.
I didn't want to cry. We don't cry on camera.
Attention seeking.
Oh no, but to be fair, like we're very, very proud of you because I feel like when I first met you, you are a lot in the same way, but also I feel like you were so much more confined in yourself, and like you're so free now.
I think as well, for a long time when I did start being more open to my surroundings at the time, and I didn't know you back then, and we just met, a lot of my surroundings were like, oh, it's a phase, or like, oh, it's just because you have a lot of like shit experience with men, which facts. But
Fair.
I think you don't choose that.
Yeah.
You know, you can experiment, and lots of women experiment and be like, it's not for me. I don't feel anything romantically. But I don't know how to say this, not specifically like fantasizing, but I could see myself sleeping with a woman and feel that sexual attraction and be like, I can have the same feelings I have for men, for women as well.
Yeah.
So I think, then about almost 3 years ago now, I think, I came out to my parents as bisexual on Christmas Day, because I know how to choose my time.
You love timings.
Well, let's say it like this. Well, actually, I did, when I started going on my first few dates with that girl from the dating app, I did tell my mom about it. I don't know why. I was just like, in a message, hey, I'm going on a date with this girl, send her some photos. And my mom first was also, she was confused.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more of like a shock because it's like there was no signs.
No, there was literally no signs because everyone was always like, oh, Yelka loves it. Like, she
That's
chases
what
the
my mum would
boys.
say to me.
Yeah, especially in school and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I was in a 6-year relationship with a guy as well, from when I was 17 until I was 23.
Yeah.
A lot of signs during that relationship as well, thinking about it. Because he would ask me, I don't know why, but he would ask me sometimes like, are you sexually attracted to women? And I'd be like, no. But I actually was. And that was like one of the first things that slowly got me.
Yeah,
I feel like it was a long stretch for me. It took me a long, long time to figure it out and place it
you're
and be
with
confident.
people, so it's hard to explore it when you're in with someone.
Yeah. So then when I told my mom, she was confused first, but I think she was just like, oh, let her figure it out and then we'll see. And I think she was still hoping that it wouldn't be something. And then obviously me and her, we didn't get into something serious, but then I was like openly bi because like we were hanging, I was being like, I'm bi. But I wasn't also not dating that much at that time.
I think you were mostly dating
Men, yeah.
And I don't think it was for lack of not wanting to. It just so happened that
People I met,
at the time.
But I think as well, and that goes back to the people you surround yourself with, I wasn't very much included in the community.
Yeah, I think as well, because like when you were dating those men when we first met, really, I was your only friend that was like very big in the LGBT community, and you weren't quite involved with my friends at that point. And so I think probably I was the only one that was like a raging lesbian in your life.
You were. No, you definitely were. On Christmas Day, I decided to come out to both of my parents because I told my mom, same thing with you, don't tell dad because I want to figure it out for myself. So then I was home for the holidays and we were having dinner, and as we were going to church, I just said, I'm bisexual.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas! I'm bisexual. I like women
Love that
too.
from you.
Ching ching.
Ching ching. And then my mom, she was not as surprised. Like, it did confirm it for her because I was open. She knows when I tell something to my dad, like, oh, facts.
It was
It's
an
true.
announcement.
Yeah, it was an announcement. My dad, I think he struggled with that. And for the longest time, up till recently, I think, he was still like, okay, she's bisexual, but she'll find a guy. Like, she'll end up with a guy. fast forward a little bit. I was in a relationship for a year with a cis man, and got out of that. And I think since then, I've been on a very good growth journey.
You have been.
I feel like, if you don't mind me saying, I feel like from an outside perspective as well, after you have left this relationship with him, I feel like you have come into your full acceptance of yourself.
Yeah.
After that, you was like, okay, like, actually, I think it took us a while to be like, just do it. Just go and explore. And you
Not just dipping your toes. I feel like you've jumped into the pool.
Yeah.
You took a full-on dive and you're in.
She took a full-on.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult because, and that comes back then coming out later in life, because I'm currently 28. You only figure out those things later in life. It does put a lot of like questions in your head, and I feel like even now we've been having these conversations. I don't know how I feel about men at all anymore now currently. And now I'm like, what is it, bisexual or this? And then that's a whole other story of like labeling yourself and figuring out like, okay, what am I and what are my feelings? Because I also think for a long time I was holding myself away from women because I didn't have a lot of like gay people in my life when I was younger, not in school, not in like surroundings. So it wasn't a normal thing for me, and everything was just like, yeah, you're straight because that's how everyone is. Everyone around you is like male, female relationship, and that's it. That's what love is. And I just didn't see anything else but that. So then when you do start to feel those things and you're just alone like that almost, it's difficult.
And I also feel like, though, particularly this year, I feel 2024 has really, really blown up for queer female, like famous queer female artists. And like, even just like on the radio, like 3 years ago, there would not be 5 number ones or 5 songs in the chart by queer females singing about females. Like, that wouldn't happen. And for you, because you've really come into it this year, it's even more so because it's visible, you have representation.
Prime time.
Yeah. But even like looking back at people in Belgium, one of our Miss Belgiums a couple of years ago, she came out as lesbian and she's married now to a beautiful woman.
Slay.
Very
Major
slay.
slay.
But I think that's one of those things, like now representation is there. But back then when I was still like in my teenage years, I always say it like I'm really old. I'm like, back then.
People in their 30s are going to be like, excuse me?
Yeah,
You're
I mean,
still in your
I'm getting to
20s.
my 30s. But yeah, it just wasn't there at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's finding her way.
Yeah, so proud of you, girlie.
No, you've done amazingly.
And I love you too. Because it does help a lot though. Having like friends who are in the community already and have their way.
Yeah, I think it's just accepting everything, isn't it? I just think like my straight friends don't understand it. So it's hard to speak to someone when they don't they can accept it, but it doesn't mean they understand it, because how can you understand something that you don't feel?
Yeah.
So I feel like it is true, like when you do have people in your life that can relate to you, it makes it so much easier, because then nothing you say is out of pocket or weird or like is going to be judged, because we've been there before.
I feel like even to the point of like, if you're discussing that you're seeing someone and then you might mention like, oh, we did this or said that, and then like, or like U-Haul, and like people in straight relationships are like, what? Like,
what's U-Haul?
Yeah, like, or what's U-Haul? Or like, that's really fast. And then if I've like had it a few times where I'd be like, oh, it's just typical of lesbians, and they're like, how can it be typical of lesbians? Like, that's not normal. Like, they just don't, they're not in the community, they don't understand, they can't validate that kind of thing.
No, exactly.
It's different.
Yeah, and I think that's what I struggled with for the longest time, because I came out later, is because I didn't have people confirming those things to me. Of like, it's okay, because to anyone and everyone it was like, it's just a phase.
Yeah.
Just has to go through this to realize some other things. And then, well, it did make me realize things. Not the things that people wanted me to realize. I think one of the things why this year as well that I've grown so much is because I came out again to my parents. To really confirm, like, look, there is a big chance I might end up with a woman, because I like women more now.
And that is a big thing, because I think to say to someone I'm gay is one thing, but then when I say to my family like in future context, like, oh yeah, when I have a wife and kids, that's such like,
Yeah.
for other people, that's a scary thing to say because
Yeah.
deep down, it's still so deep rooted that like you're gonna have a husband, and when for them to hear wife,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
No,
like,
definitely.
oh,
Yeah.
like you're gonna be like 2 old grannies, like lesbian grannies.
Still lots of cats. Dogs and cats. My mom said this to me. She was like, I think we're happy with you being happy, and also we have had the thing of like you came out as bisexual years ago, and we know you've been going on like a few dates.
Yeah.
And like slowly I've been talking more and more about women to them as well. My mom is a bit uncomfortable with it. I literally sent her photos this week and she's like, no, she seems lovely.
Great laugh.
She's trying though, and that's
She's
that's the
trying,
important
yeah,
thing.
no, definitely. She's definitely trying.
And also, I
think that's
feel
the
like
biggest thing.
the same thing that I said earlier, even to your parents or other people's parents, they are slowly being more exposed
Yes.
to it becoming normalcy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, did you hear this new song? Like, yeah, I heard that new song. They don't even know that that's a lesbian,
Yeah.
but they are lesbian because they deserve to be on the radio too.
Definitely.
Like, that kind of thing. Like, even in Agatha All Along, there is no explicit thing that says we're lesbians, but you can see the chemistry and the, you know, you can see you don't have to have these like, by the way, they're lesbians kind of thing.
Disclosures, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more normal, which makes it easier for
anyone
Yeah.
to realize their feelings, I think, or
Yeah.
feel validated.
and like identify with
Yeah.
those people.
No, definitely.
Oh, I'm so proud of you, my little one.
He, he.
I'm proud of all of us.
I'm proud of all of us.
I think it's just like, I mean, for me personally, it's just like accepting that part of yourself and living in that truth.
I think that the only way someone can truly be happy is for someone to be able to be unapologetically and authentically themselves, and that comes with acceptance.
It does.
But that's like sometimes the hardest thing to find that within yourself.
Yeah, of course, that is the hardest thing. I think, you know, we all people struggle with accepting different parts of themselves, whether it's your eyes or your ear. You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't have to. Not always that soul deep thing, but
Yeah.
yeah. Now I'm rambling anyway, but
We know what you mean.
yeah.
I think with bi people, and it also comes with, I feel like, being comfortable with yourself, confidence-wise, is I feel like biphobia is
such a big trope.
very big. And
Yeah.
I will put my hands up and say I wasn't biphobic, but I was insecure, so I wouldn't have been with a bi person.
We've had this conversation so many times where I'm like, if I like a girl and she's a lesbian,
You're scared to
I'm
tell
scared
her.
that to like
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm bi because I'm scared that she'll be like,
But then that's why I've said to you before, as like someone that's been that person before,
Yeah, I've
that
been that
person
person.
isn't confident enough in themselves at that point to accept
Yeah.
you, because now I would happily be with anyone, because if someone's going to cheat, they're going to cheat. I know that. And it's like, if someone wants to be with you, there is so many women and so many men and so many, literally like so many people, and I just think if there's plenty of opportunities to cheat regardless. So it doesn't matter if you're into everyone, because they're going to find a way. And I just
Yeah.
think if you're insecure, you're going to want to limit that as much as possible.
Yeah, because I think like the reason that I would avoid bisexual women was because my rationality was that, well, I can't compete with a man.
Double the competition.
Yeah, but then if you have enough security about yourself, why are you competing with anyone?
No,
There's no
exactly.
need to compete. If
Yeah.
that person chooses to be with you and you choose to be with them, then that's that.
Yeah.
And I just think that, yeah, and I also think that the whole biphobic narrative is very online and it's very in your face, and I think it can be really easy. You can easily be swept up in it.
Yeah.
I do feel like it has got better the last few months,
Yeah.
but that might also be because I'm not interacting with those kind of
Yeah,
persons
so you don't
anymore,
see
so I
that.
don't see it, because I'm secure enough in myself that if I saw something like that, I'd be like, and I'd just scroll
Yeah.
past.
But it is something like I personally as well, like I said earlier, I get scared almost to be not seen by a lesbian if I'm interested
Yeah.
in her, because I'm like, oh, if she knows I'm bi, she might not just not like
But then
me. She might not
that's
want to
not
be
your
with
person.
me.
Yeah.
No, but it's a difficult thing
It's
where it's like
hard,
when
yeah.
you're really interested in a girl,
Yeah, you
having
don't.
that little difference, and it's
Yeah.
like, but I truly do see you and like you.
Yeah.
And I'm not because okay, then you have bi-curious, and I think that's where maybe some of the biphobia comes from,
Yeah.
because there are straight girls who are just bi-curious.
Or just want to kiss girls to make their boyfriends, like, they think it's
Yeah.
hot. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that affect people that are actually a part of
Yeah.
all of
Yeah,
this.
because like I've had women be like to me like, oh, like I just kind of want to kiss a girl. Can I kiss you? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, and that I think that's where it all kind of stems from, because those women are creating a name.
Yeah.
Or I don't really know how I'm explaining.
No,
it,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it's not fair. But then I suppose at the same time, if they want to explore, how else? At least they're being honest about it.
It's good. No, but I think the thing is, like, some aren't honest.
It's the people
Yeah.
that aren't
Yeah.
transparent about
It's
it.
the women who are bi-curious but tell girls that they are into girls but actually don't know yet.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they'll experiment and be like, actually, I am straight, and then leave that.
Yeah.
And then leaving the other woman,
Being like, what?
just happened.
I remember I was in my like local club, Cameo. You guys have seen that. And Cameo was like, it's not a gay club, it's not a gay bar, it's just a normal. And I remember I was dancing with my friends, and I was with my friends that are straight, like we were all just having a good time. And this girl was with her boyfriend, and they were like dancing next to me. And I don't know, maybe if you're gay, you'll think that I'm gay. But maybe if you're straight, you wouldn't. I don't know if that, some people think like gay is a certain look, and certain people think that I do, some people I don't. And we were dancing, this girl came up to me, and she was like, oh my God, like, let's kiss. And she like grabbed my face, and do you know when you're just like, what? Yes. Like, yeah, she did. And she was like, I'm not gay, don't worry, like, that's my boyfriend, but like, he'll think it's hot. And like, she grabbed my face, and she went in to kiss me, and I was like, I'm gay. And when I say, like, she launched me across that room like I was some repulsive creature. And I was like, what? And she was like, oh my God, I didn't realise you were gay, like, that's so awkward. And I was like, you...
But it was pretty queer of you to go and kiss
a
a
girl
woman anyway.
And I was like, it's the fact that she didn't want to... Obviously, I didn't want to kiss her anyway. I would have punched her in the face regardless. But, like, you wanted to kiss a girl so your boyfriend thought it was hot. But then because I actually do kiss girls because I'm a lesbian, you thought that was, like... gross, like
because it ties into like the predator trope, doesn't it? The like, oh, actually, like she would actually be into it, like
and it's like, don't flatter yourself, babe. Like I'm not into it. I'm not into you. But I just think it's fun. It's people like that give off a bad rep for people.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I think as long if you were talking and meeting the right person, then they wouldn't give a fuck.
No, they wouldn't give a fuck.
So one of the questions we got in was advice for someone who is struggling. So I'm guessing struggling to figure out their sexuality or coming out.
If you have people that you can talk to and that you trust, I think definitely, because it's a lot to figure out on your own. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that you're struggling to coming to terms with your sexuality and coming out, that kind of thing. If you do have people to talk to, then definitely do that. And I just think my plainest advice is, if you want to be happy, you need to take the steps required for you to accept yourself.
Yeah. And I just feel like no pressure on yourself.
Yeah,
like there are so many labels and boxes, and I think even recently it's something that I've really thought about and experienced is like, you don't need to be a certain thing. Like, if you just want to kiss girls, kiss boys, be with this, be with that, like, just do it.
It can be fluid. I think like that's
it's so fluid.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure to be like, oh, hi, I'm this kind of person. Like,
yeah. And I do think, like, backing off what we were just saying, that if you are experimenting, just as long as you're honest with that person,
that's the biggest one.
Then I just think, you know, think about the steps that you think, envision yourself at your happiest, and then work out how you get there.
That's a very good piece of advice.
Guru Kaya!
All right, second question was, Yelka, it's me. Have you ever felt invalidated by people assuming your bisexuality is a phase? Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
We kind of touched on that. Yeah, massively. I think because with anything, when you do change as a person, stupid example, but even being vegan, when I initially said like, hey, I'm going vegan, it's like, oh, it's just a phase. It's just because it's something different than what the norms are of society.
Yeah.
And when you kind of leap into something different, they'll be like, oh, it's just a phase, it's not gonna last. But I think as long as you know your truth to yourself and surround yourself with people
there's nothing to
that
prove.
see you and accept you for like who you are.
Yeah, I think as a society we struggle to see the grey and we just see black or
Black,
white.
Yeah.
And but some people do see the grey.
And it's okay to be in the grey. I think like that's the biggest thing. It's okay to
Grey's
be.
a great colour. 50 shades of it.
So we got a question mainly saying to talk about compulsory heterosexuality.
Yeah. I think that obviously working in a school, it has got better in the curriculum of diversifying and normalising non-heterosexual people. But I do think, you know, as a world, we still have heterosexual norms and it's still, you know, a work in progress.
I think it also really depends like where you grow up. If you are in a city where it's like all over the place compared to growing up in a small town where that's like people are a bit like
More
they're
close-minded.
close-minded. Yeah, it is like obviously there is a lot of different factors.
And I think I would also say that the biggest country that has the biggest influence on the world is America. And there are obviously lots and lots and lots of issues in America right now. So I think that influences a lot of people and a lot of worldly views, and they produce most of our TV and things like that. So you know, it is only recently. I think children growing up now are very lucky to have that representation around. But yeah.
I think
that covers it. I don't know, hopefully.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to talk about that.
Yeah, I think it could also get very political.
Yeah. How has your sexuality shaped the way you experience intimacy and connection?
I think I used to really struggle with intimacy. Like, I would feel really uncomfortable with everything. I mean, you kind of gathered that earlier. Like, when I wasn't fully aware of myself, like, it made me feel sick. And I think since I've been with women and I've felt... People might disagree, but I feel like the way that women love women and appreciate women is, like, unmatchable, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like we really, from where we understand each other so well, we really appreciate and respect each other.
I just want to jump in, but I wanted to wait until she's like, from like having experienced both now. I think with men, I perform for them. And with women, it's more like equality. And I feel like, personally, I feel more comfortable with women as well, where it's more like you feel the, I'm going to say this word so wrong, appreciation? Appreciation? I got it right. But yeah, with men, it's more like, personally, I don't know if everyone has that, but I feel like it's more like you want to pleasure their needs.
I think it's more of like an act than a experience, if that makes sense. Like, I think that when I've been like, obviously it's different if it's just like a one night stand or you're actually in love with someone, but I know that when I've been like in love with someone and even if we're just like in bed hugging, like not everything is so sexual, like, even if it's just that, like the closeness that I feel is so like safe,
like
and
skin to skin contact.
And I think that it's nothing to do with even my sexuality. I just think when you're fully comfortable with everything, you're so vulnerable.
Because it has a lot to do with like how you feel within yourself as well, I think.
I think as well, like, I know some of my friends who are struggling right now with their sexuality, and like when they're with men, they're like, I actually just I don't want to hold their hand, I don't really want to, but they're not really around women at the moment. So then I think like they would probably notice a massive difference to how they feel when they are with women. Like don't really have any male connections in my life other
Yeah.
than the men in my family, and even then it's a little bit distant
Yeah.
because I just feel unable to connect
Yeah.
with men emotionally. Obviously not intimately when they're my family, but
Thank you for the
Thank God for that.
but like emotionally, like I really struggle. Other than like my younger family, it's much easier. Whereas women, I could talk to women all day, all night
Yeah.
about
I just
anything.
love women.
I do. I just love women, but I also think that it can become a struggle because I'm so surrounded by women, and I stand for a lot of women's rights. I think it can be perceived as man hating,
Yeah.
but it's not. I don't hate any men.
It's just women loving.
Yeah, it's just I'm just love women.
Yeah.
And this is what we said about earlier. It's nothing to do with men. It's just
No.
all about
Women.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one more thing as well to come back on, like, this is more like the sexual side, because obviously intimacy it's
Yeah,
not just
yeah,
like
yeah.
sexual. But I personally, there were a lot of little signs that I might also be into women when I was like, I don't want to go too much in detail because I don't know if my parents are listening or whoever, but certain things that I wouldn't want to do because it would like, just the idea of it would like
Yeah,
cringe me.
yeah.
And then I kind of pushed myself to do it because of society, because I was like,
Yeah.
everyone has done this, it's okay, it's normal. But then when I had my first experience with a woman, I didn't feel the pressure to do that. It just came
Yeah.
naturally, and I wasn't scared or like it wasn't a thing, and I was just like, oh, let's do it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I want to do it.
Want to.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like it felt like, I don't know, was it you or
Yeah.
you felt more safe
Yeah.
to do that? Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, because it's like how they
it
shape
just
it.
does depend on your sexuality, doesn't it? Because someone like a straight cis woman might say that if she was experiencing something with a girl, she probably wouldn't feel very safe because
Yeah.
that's not how
They
she
feel,
yeah. But I do think that women loving women tend to have a very, very deep emotional experience, and I don't know, I don't know if it's factual or not, but I would probably say that women are more emotional than men.
Yeah.
That's factual, we
Yeah.
all know that.
Yeah.
So then when you put two of those together,
It can be a lot.
it's intense. Yeah, it's intense, very
Yeah.
intense.
We're gonna end this episode here.
There's been some love, there's been some tears.
There's been a whole lot of different things. I do want to say one more thing. That's like a generalization for the end of the episode. No matter where you are in your journey, wherever you are is valid. Like your feelings, your emotions is valid. And if
Yeah.
you're experimenting, go for it. If it isn't what you expected it was going to be, that's fine. You tried it out. Open communication is key, I think.
Yeah.
And find yourself some really good friends.
You slayed that.
You did.
Oh, I love you, girl.
The throuple is real.
Platonic
No, what do you mean?
Platonic, we're all really sexual, what do you mean?
I want to have sex with you guys all the time.
Just lying, cut the cameras.
Thank you for listening.
Give me your boobies.
Oh, touch your boobie.
It's real nice, thank you. I feel like, no, I need a boob as well. Where is it?
It's hard to find my boobies because I don't have boobies.
Can we stop
Flats.
saying booby?
Breasts.
Ugh, tits.
Nipple.
Lips.
What is it? Areola.
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 I think that's our cue to go, guys. But thank you for listening, and we love you. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.